Hey guys, it's RodimusPrimal. I'm back with another video, and today I want to catch you guys up on some Transformers news when it comes down to the live-action movie franchise and all the different movies that are coming out with it, what directors are attached to it, some rumored listings when it comes down to some of the War for Cybertron toys, and I want to talk to you guys about some Masterpiece toys and the listings that are coming out for that and the promotional images that are causing a little bit of a stir nowadays. So I've got a lot to talk about, so sit back, relax, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and let's transform and roll out. Consider supporting the channel on Patreon, or becoming a channel member today. Okay, so before I get into the news, I hope everybody is at home and is safe with their families. I know it's starting to get nice outside and you want to get your kids outside on the, either on the porch since, the only thing we can do is take walks or go bike riding since we aren't allowed in the parks, we aren't allowed in the beaches, we aren't allowed to go sightseeing, we aren't allowed to do anything unless it's essential. So, for the most part, we've all been stuck indoors, and in the meantime, I've been trying to work on more projects for the channel, and I've got some toy reviews that are coming and some Transformers discussion videos that I've been working on scripts for, but I wanted to cover some of this news, and I finally decided to make my trip out to the post office box since I haven't been there in 2 months because, well, we've all been stuck inside, and I ended up picking up, 2 letters. I got one from Vadone in Hawthorne, California, who asks me, I have a question, why don't you support third-party figures? I've seen a lot of bad reviews on Hasbro toys on YouTube. Thank you. I don't know what you mean by, the bad reviews on YouTube for the Hasbro toys, unless you're saying my reviews are bad. Thank you for that. But third-party toys, the reason why I don't collect third-party toys, and the reason why is because they're not in scale with what I normally collect. Some people collect Cyberverse, some people like the movie stuff, some people like the War for Cybertron stuff, which is what I like, and of course the original G1 stuff. Some people like the Masterpiece toys. I can't afford a Masterpiece toy, so I'm not going to spend $200, $300, $400, $500 as they're getting so expensive nowadays to be able to buy one. And instead, what I'll do is I'll spend $100 and I'll get 3 or 4 War for Cybertron toys, and I'm a little bit more satisfied. And that's perfectly fine for me. But if you want to go for the Masterpiece toys, go for it. If you want to go for the third-party stuff, go for it. So it's really a matter of what I collect. It's not anything else to do with that. So that pretty much answers my question there. The other letter I got was from Joseph Tarvin in Omaha, Nebraska. He sent me a pretty lengthy letter because he did some amazing fan art for some Transformers animated style characters, and I'm going to actually show them here so that you can see them all. I have 2 more, so that's 4 females, and they seem to be based on the elements, and that's pretty cool. I gotta say, they look really, really cool. And of course you got fire and ice, and that's pretty neat. From what I've been skimming through the letter, because I'm not going to read the whole thing because it is a very long letter. He goes through the name, I think, with Jet Shock, Black Light, Space Case, Daylight, Road Nightfall, or Nightfall Road King. So I'm sorry if I'm just skimming through the letter because I didn't quite actually figure out which one was who to what. I will do so. I will take the time to read it, after I complete this video. But I just wanted to at least acknowledge, that I'm really appreciative for you guys for sending me, letters or whatever it is that you guys send me. I'm so thankful and appreciative for all of you who have supported my channel so far. So let's get into the news. All right. So this one now came out about sometime last week, but I was really, really focused on getting my Galvatron video out to you guys, and so I paid attention to the news, but I wasn't following, like I wasn't like ready to prepare to make a video about all of this stuff, and HasLab actually showed off their promotional, production update for the War for Cybertron Unicron. If you were able to afford it and get this thing for $600, it's actually $575 plus tax plus shipping, and he's huge, and I'm talking like massive. First of all, the box that he comes in, this box is so big that apparently the guy who had the promotional like material for it fit himself inside the box, apparently. I would actually like to see that picture. Prove it to me. But here he is in planet mode, and you can see how massive he is. He has a cat. I'm not a cat person, because I'm allergic to cats. But, this Unicron is huge in planet mode. And this is just obviously the promotional, the prototype. I think it's the second prototype that they've made for him. So this way they can make sure that all the panels are lined up properly and that everything is working. And I guess this is the actual molding, they use to make him. And you can see how massive he is in robot mode. I mean, huge. Absolutely huge. And I want to bring this particular image up, these two images. I was at New York Comic Con back in October. I'm hoping that New York Comic Con is still on this year. I got to see Unicron firsthand and see how massive he actually is. And I have to say, he makes other Transformers seem small. Everybody was like pretty much like hovered around the entire thing during the entire event, and it was really cool to see in person. And then of course here he is stabbing his cat. You got him on the kitchen table. This is the painted prototype. I think this is the painted prototype that I actually saw in person. So I guess that they got one at someone's house and one at another person's house, because this is the actual painted prototype. And you could see again how big he is. If you would have to have a pretty good big display room to be able to display him. And there he is sitting on the couch with the TV remote. It's too funny. It's just way too funny. He's out fishing, which in New Jersey it is illegal to be doing, but obviously this promotional picture is probably not taken in New Jersey since we're not under lockdown, and we're they're allowed to go fishing. But that's absolutely hysterical. And since he probably wants to get out of the house, he's probably has to put a mask on in order to leave. He's looking out the window to see whom he could devour. All right, so I wanted to get into the, Masterpiece toys that are coming out. And I normally don't cover a lot of Masterpiece news, but I honestly think that these particular Masterpiece toys are worth talking about for a lot of reasons. It may lead me to need to actually be talking more about the characters surrounding them. This one right here, MP39 plus, MP39 was Sunstreaker, and they're doing a recolor of him in red as a character known as Spinout. And Spinout is actually, the red color was Sunstreaker's original toy color. Sunstreaker has the honor of being the first transforming robot into a car toy. The original G1 Sunstreaker was the first transformer, so to speak. At least as far, in the Diaclone toy line, of course. And he was in a red color scheme. And I think the original plan was to release Sunstreaker in red and Sideswipe in yellow. And they swapped their colors when they released them in America. And they, so the names got, crisscrossed. It's the reason why Sunstreaker has red on his shoulders from the stickers from the original toy. But it seems that they're actually doing this as a particular character and giving him a name, which I think is really, really neat. And I like the red color scheme for him in particular. I'm wondering if they're going to do so for the War for Cybertron one. But I wanted to talk to you guys today also about Arcee. Now, Arcee is a character that I really, really like, as I like her original G1 design. I like her character in G1, that she was both a fierce warrior and a caring motherly type. I liked both aspects of that character. It seems that every iteration of Arcee after that fact seems to go too far into one or too far into the other, mostly in the warrior side, and not taking into the account the motherly side that the character had in the original G1 series. But Takara, whenever they do, like, female Transformers, or I would venture to say pretty much that they understand that the toys are marketed towards adults. It's the reason why Masterpiece toys are so expensive, which is one of the reasons why I don't really collect them myself. But the thing is if they're coming out with a new Masterpiece toy, we want them to be good. We want them to not only be show accurate, but we also want them to be, proportioned well to the character, and they want them to be able to pose well. Now, posability doesn't seem to be a factor when it comes down to this particular Arcee, and her car mode looks great. She comes with a lot of accessories. She comes with a sniper rifle. She comes with two extra blasters, and this extra hook piece that comes out very much like in Transformers the movie when she knocked down one of the Junkions. And she's in some interesting blasting poses. So some of the poses are more meant for her to be able to be firing the blasters that she comes with. One of them is a rifle and one of them is the handgun. They don't look like the blasters that she has. Now, I have this particular Arcee figure, which of course is the Takara Legends, Arcee, and I'm looking forward to the War for Cybertron Siege Arcee as well. But my issue with the Masterpiece one, a lot of people are complaining about the backpack. I don't have an issue with the backpack. It seems that they took this toy and they tried to take this toy and transform it into a Masterpiece, and it seems to have gotten lost in translation somewhere. The biggest issue I have with this particular version of Arcee is in her shoulders, her collar, her neck, and her chest plate, is because of where they sit on her body. They are show accurate when you're looking at it from the front point of view, but very much like this Arcee, the proportion just kind of seems a little off. It just doesn't, if you're looking for that show accurate look of the character, it doesn't reach it. And also her waistline right here is much more angular. I even have a problem with this one being a little bit angular because the original G1 animation model was very square around her waist, whereas this is a little bit more smooth. And I think it's because they were going for some of the art that they had for the Japanese Headmasters anime, where she's a little bit more smooth and less angular. But it seems that the poses, some people are complaining about the poses, and that's what I want to get into before I really get too much in trouble here, is that a lot of people are complaining about the poses for the character in that they're marketing it as a female Transformer. I get it. A lot of people don't like the idea of some people don't like the idea of female Transformers in general. Some people don't like the fact that she's, posed as a human female. But I understand the marketing, because the marketing goes towards adults, and adults in certain markets, this is, if you're going to try and sell a toy, you're going to want the toy to be able to be sold this way. I get it. I don't think it works. No matter how you look at it, they always show, I guess you can say, some sexuality, would be the terminology I would use, even in something like Optimus Prime, where he has, a muscled chest out of the windows and abs out of his grill. It's kind of like the normal thing. So please understand, I'm approaching this from a marketing standpoint and nothing else. I'm not looking at it any other way, so I understand that the poses, like this one here in particular, looks awesome. Like, this would sell me the toy. If I saw the toy and, didn't realize that the chest was kind of off, her being able to store her rifle and hold all her blasters, which they don't look like the animation, which is my issue with the blasters that she comes with, and she's able to hold them and look pretty neat doing so. I'm cool with that. Same thing with this one, where she's posed with Ultra Magnus and Hot Rod, for scale purposes. But this, I'm gonna be honest with you, her proportion, because of her off proportions, the pose there looks off. this one doesn't look good. Like, why would you pose like this one? It's one thing. Again, it's because they're trying to sell it to for female, but because of her waist and the posability, this doesn't look good. I'm not looking at it in any other standpoint from a marketing perspective, is that the marketing is showing the flaws of the toy more than anything else. And like, whereas this one here, this looks actually good, where she'd be in a running pose. When you see a lot of anime out there, and remember, this is being marketed towards Japanese adults. So Japanese adults watch a lot of anime, and a lot of anime poses their characters in proportions like this and in poses like this. So when you see a girl running with a blaster, this is how you would probably see it. And so this is probably what the marketing was thinking when they were trying to pose the toy and put her in promotional material. It's showing the flaws of the toy more than anything else. And to be honest with you, again, I'm not a Masterpiece collector. Some people are like, oh, I'm all on top of this. Great, cool. You're all on top of it. I think I would be more inclined to go for the War for Cybertron Arcee, and I'm really hoping the War for Cybertron Arcee is a good toy. I'm looking forward to seeing full color images of that. Speaking of War for Cybertron, this is actually news that is a little bit old. Some of you guys are like, can you believe it? Like they again, I was working on my Galvatron video, heavy into like I didn't cover the news, and Ironhide and Prowl are getting Earth-style vehicles and robots, at least as far as their descriptions being revealed, and it's going to be a 2-pack. So very much like Thundercracker and Skywarp, which, by the way, I just got Earthrise Starscream, and I'm going to end up doing a toy review for him. I really want to get the Thundercracker and Skywarp, but now I'm kind of like, man, I customized my Prowl figure, which I showed you guys on a video, and I mildly customized, Ironhide. And, they're the best versions currently available at regular retail, not the Masterpiece toys, because of course the Masterpiece toys are going to be the best versions of the characters, but mass retail versions of them, having Earth style vehicle now, I might be more inclined to actually want to get that, especially because I don't care for Ironhide's vehicle as a trying to think of him as a van. But if you watch a lot of anime, which I've been doing a lot of lately, a lot of Japanese anime and futuristic movies, even American, Hollywood movies in the future, Ironhide's vehicle mode is very much like a futuristic van, much less of a Cybertronian van. That's been the complaint about the War for Cybertron toys. And I even think even Prowl, without, in other words, I have him all marked up so he's like an Earth car. The actual Siege car mode for them does resemble some of the futuristic vehicles that I've seen in different anime and movies and stuff. So it more seems like futuristic versions instead of Cybertronian. But I'm looking forward to Ironhide and Ratchet, and I can't wait to see what they look like. And now we also have some more War for Cybertron Deluxe Netflix figures that are listed. Now, mind you, they are listed. There is a separate SKU, apparently, that people have been doing some digging around for the War for Cybertron, the Netflix particular series. So people who have been doing this have been found, have found these names pop up in the listings. And I think it's pretty cool to see these listings coming out, and I'm wondering what those toys are going to look like. I'm wondering if it's going to be for the War for Cybertron, like it's going to be for the Siege toys, or if it's going to be Earthrise. And I'm really also curious if they're going to use some of the Earthrise molds for the Netflix recolors that are going to end up being, of course, Walmart exclusives. Now, TRA Deluxe Bumblebee. I'm hoping that he is a full-on remold, if he is going to be the same mold as Cliff Jumper, because as you guys know, I am not a big fan of Cliffjumper and Bumblebee being just straight repaints of each other. I would prefer it if they were like separate molds, or at least molded differently enough that the two characters have enough differences between them, instead of just either a head swap or a recolor. Because that's always been Cliffjumper's problem, right? Is that he's always been, you know, the Bumblebee repaint. I mean, he did a whole video on it. And then, of course, you have a Quintesson. So I'm wondering if this Quintesson is short for Alicon. And if it's short for Alicon, is it part of, like, is it, because apparently Takara just, you know, showed off some promotional images of their Alicon, and their Alicon is differently colored than the Hasbro one. It's more cartoon accurate, so you're going to want to get the Takara one, and I'm wondering if the Netflix version is going to have that same recolor. And Wheeljack, I wonder if it's going to be like actual straight up Wheeljack, or maybe, just maybe, I'm really hoping that we get Cybertronian versions of Bumblebee and Wheeljack. I think that it has been wrong that Wheeljack and Bumblebee having the honor of being the first two Transformers to appear in the animated series and have Cybertronian modes to boot did not receive toys when they did Cybertronian modes during the Siege toy line. So I really think that the two of them deserve that. Now, Impactor, it's probably going to be like a darker version, maybe with some more battle damage. Red Alert, probably the same thing with Barricade. And now Deep Cover, and the reason why you see this black colored sideswipe here is because Deep Cover is actually a eHobby, was an eHobby exclusive, and he was a sideswipe that was blue instead of black, and he was black instead of red, and so he is just basically his own character. And it looks like that maybe that we're seeing some more characters come out of the woodwork. I'm curious if this particular Barricade is the Smokescreen repaint, or if it's a repaint of the Siege mold. I'm really curious as to which one is which. Now, as for Elita 1, this one I really wanted to talk to you guys about, because we know Elita 1 is showing up in the Siege cartoon. We know that from her robot mode, she looks very much like a Chromia, you know, remold with a different head. The issue with Elita 1, though, is that her helmet is very different, and the way that, you know, Chromia transforms, her head kind of folds back. So that being said, when you take a look at something like Elita 1, you end up getting a head very much like this, and this head is terrible. I mean, not the head. The body is terrible. I can't stand this particular toy. I don't like the mold. You know, the Starscream mold, when I saw it, I said that thing is disgusting looking. But when I saw that they were doing Elita 1, I was like, I have to get it, because we have not seen an actual G1 styled mass retail version of Elita 1, and they're finally doing this character. I kind of owe it to myself to be able to get this particular character, because she's a character from the cartoon. And I got her toy, and I've been disappointed. Her combined mode is not that great, but, you know, and that's just, you know, knocking on the toy. But this particular mold is okay, but, you know, I think this mold is kind of tired since they remolded this from Firestar or Novastar and Moonracer and Lancer and Greenlight, and they all use the same mold, with Chromia being the only one, and Nightbird, since Nightbird is just basically a head swap of Chromia. You know, again, so many of the same mold, you know, because instead of actually giving them each special vehicles, special individual, you know, transformations, they just reuse the same mold. And I understand why, but because these characters have not gotten a lot of prominent roles outside of G1 and maybe in the IDW comics, but you know, in the G1 cartoon, they only showed up in one episode. So I guess that was kind of like the thinking. And Chromia was kind of a shelf warmer. So I'm hoping that this particular Elita 1 is a good toy. I'm hoping that it actually does the character a lot more justice than this thing. And we have another Generation Selects bit of news. If you have not picked up the Seacons, which They were a little on the expensive side for me, so I was not able to get any of the Seacons. I do know that they are releasing a King Poseidon or slash Piranacon as we know him in the US. They are releasing a box set of him separately, but they're also doing a Generation Selects God Neptune. And if you don't know who God Neptune is, I cover a little bit of him in my combiners and in my... did I cover it in the female Transformers video? I don't remember. I might need to redo that. But, you know, they were a combiner of Seacons in the Beast Wars 2nd or Neo, one of the two. I think it was Beast Wars 2nd. And they were like a third pirate faction of Cybertronians, and they were a combiner. The Squid was a female, and so they're going to do that particular recolor for Piranacon in the Generation Select. So those of you who want that particular version and those colors, you're going to get your wish. And last but not least is some of the Transformers news for the live action films. I know this has been a long news video, and I'm sorry that it's taken so long, but I'm trying to catch up on everything the best that I can. From what we understand, June 24th, 2022 is the slated date. So 2 years from now is the slated date for the next installment in the film franchise of the Transformers live action films. Now, I have gone back and forth, and if you probably know, you've been following the channel for a while, about whether or not Bumblebee is a reboot or it's not a reboot. Is it a prequel or is it not a prequel? And some of the, you know, the official statements that have been made say, oh, it's a reboot, but it's not in the reboot the way that you say, or it is a reboot, it's a new storytelling universe. This is not a storytelling universe. Stop it. Just give us a straightforward answer. Please tell us whether or not Bumblebee is a prequel or not. It was conceived as a prequel, but it doesn't work in the live action films. But what we want to know is this going to be Transformers 6? I already talked about how they're doing Beast Wars. You know, is this going to be the Beast Wars one, or is this going to be the animated one? We don't know. We don't know. We do have news that with all of these multiple scripts all being thrown, pretty much it sounds like to me they don't know where to go, and so they're throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. And it's pretty disgusting, especially considering I'm not going to continue on with that joke. But but it looks like they're doing an animated prequel that is directed by Josh Cooley, who also happened to pen Toy Story 4. It's script written by Andrew Barrer and Gabriel Ferrara, who both, I guess, they came from the Ant-Man franchise. So the Ant-Man movies, they were a lot of fun. So it seems like the animated prequel is going to be more on the lighthearted side. It might actually be a lot more enjoyable, or at least I hope so. And it seems that they're tapping James Vanderbilt and Joby Harold, Army of the Dead and Zodiac, to pen separate scripts in the story universe. So what we want to know is, are they going to make a Transformers 6, or are they going to make a Bumblebee sequel, or is it going to be a brand new Transformers universe and let the Bayverse die? Personally, I want the Bayverse to die. I'm not a fan of Michael Bay's Transformers. I never liked the aesthetic. I never liked what the robots look like, but that's my own personal take. Why? Because I feel that characters should pass the squint test, not only in looks, but in personality as well. And I think that's important when it comes down to a franchise that is covering so many, characters. Don't just take the character of Chromia and plaster it into Arcee. Don't take the character of Ironhide and try to sell me on that being some other random character. Give me Ironhide if you're going to give me Ironhide. Give me Jazz if you're going to give me Jazz. And please, let's bring Jazz back. I would love to see Jazz return in the live action films, in animated, in format, in toys. Jazz needs a comeback. But I want to know what you guys think about all this Transformers news. Are you excited for the live action films? Are you excited for some of these toys that are coming out? Or are you kind of annoyed about some of the toy news? With things like Arcee. So, of course, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Be sure to thumbs up this video and subscribe. You know, check out my other videos as well. I've got a lot more content coming down the pipeline. I've got toy reviews. I've got another Transformers discussion video that should be coming very, very soon. I have maybe I might even start doing some Twitch streaming if you want to see me on there, to start playing some video games when I need some downtime. But of course, stay tuned for all of that. And as always, guys, until next time, till all are one.